Consent.
Hi, buddy.
Y'all good?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here with
Let's
my
do it.
dog. So
All
if
right.
I need,
Go ahead. What's up?
sorry, I was just gonna say, if I need to let my dog out at some point, I'll just type it in the chat and be gone for like 3 minutes.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem at all.
Cool.
All right. What up, everybody? This is just Saucin. I am your host, Jack Burns. And before we introduce our guest, Jason motherfucking Tatum, baby. Are you kidding me? 51-point bomb in the Garden? Come on now. All right, we'll get to that. But I mean, come on, bro. I had to start out the podcast with that. Shout out to my boy, Jason Tatum. Most points in a Game 7 in NBA history. Gotta love it. And with me, as always, your boy, MC. How we doing?
Doing great, Sauce. Legendary shit from the boy JT, man. You love to see it. A lot of people talking about him after the 1-for-14 game to start Game 6. Yeah, I'm excited. Excited to talk some playoffs. And yeah.
I love it, man. And Tim, been a little bit of a rough stretch the last couple of days with your Suns getting knocked out of the playoffs, but I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit. Future is extremely bright for this squad, man. How are we doing?
Hey, man. Hey, I'm not worried about this year whatsoever. We are exactly where we want to be. I've never felt better. And yeah, you can just like lock it in. You better get your ring this year, Sauce, because you could lock it in that Phoenix got it next year. So like I feel perfectly fine. I feel good.
No, we're locking it in, bro. It's
locking in next year. Okay.
I'm gonna get a face tat about it. Fuck it. I'm gonna write Suns 2024 champs across my forehead, and that way, like I'm.
You're that committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
You're that committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's get it rolling. We'll get to Suns Nuggets talking a little bit. I think we're gonna have a pretty in detail talk about what's going on in Phoenix, what adjustments need to be made. We don't have this on the outline, but possible trade scenarios for DA. So maybe start kind of brewing up some of those possible trade scenarios for Chris Paul. Just kind of start thinking of some of those ideas. Let's start with Celtics Sixers, bro. We'll get to the Sixers here very shortly, probably here in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Dude, the Celtics looked fucking awesome, man. And this is Jason Tatum. This is a type of game that like we've been waiting for as a Celtics fan, and just as I wouldn't say as a community, but this is the type of game as a community we expect Jason Tatum to have. Not necessarily 51 points. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the aggressiveness, right? Hitting the mid-range jump shots, not being afraid to attack the rim. It seemed like most of this playoffs he was scared to attack the rim. I know Joel Embiid is an intimidating interior defender. I think Jason Tatum sometimes forgets that he's 6'10". Joel Embiid's only got 2 inches on you, bro. Like, go at him. But I was talking to Tim today a little bit about this game, and it just the way Devin Booker plays is the way that we want all of our superstars to play, right? Especially this playoff series Devin Booker has played in, which is just being strong, attacking the basket, not settling for threes, attacking the mid-range. That's exactly what Jason Tatum did, and it got him 51 points. Unbelievable performance by Jason Tatum. The Celtics played absolutely great. There's a couple other players I want to cover, but just to start, boys, I mean, how about Jason fucking Tatum, man?
I've never seen a player live time save his entire legacy the way that he just did in 5 quarters. Like
100%.
in 5
4
quarters,
and a half, like four
and a half quarters,
honestly.
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
4.5 quarters, because he was fucking ass to start that 4 too.
100%.
And, I know. Yeah, okay. We'll get in the Sixers here in a minute, but Jason Tatum, man, I mean, he deserves his flowers for real. Like, he showed up. People like this is the time. Like, Game 7s are where Game 6s and 7s, elimination games, playoffs. After you got knocked out last year in the finals and shit, like this is where legacies are being built in the playoffs on guys that we talk about from different eras. And he's like showing up, man. Like the last year against Milwaukee in Game 6, he had it.
Exactly.
Like, right this year he has it in Game 7. Like, I mean, I know that the finals were whatever last year, but he's in his 5th Eastern Conference Finals, 4th Eastern Conference Finals?
It'll be his 4th Eastern Conference Finals in 6 years.
Like, that's crazy, man.
That's insane.
Crazy, bro. Like, ooh. And so, I mean, he deserves his flowers, man. 51 is some big shit in a Game 7 against the MVP. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I don't know what else to say. Like he
Yeah.
really got after it, man. That's legendary shit, like Finn said.
McHugh.
Yeah, man. It's a huge moment for his career, honestly. Like, and yeah, he had 51 points and he was like really giving it to you from like any way you want to have it, really. Like he was hitting threes and he was like hitting layups and like taking mid-range like step backs, and he was really like getting whatever he wanted, it seemed like. And it seems like a thing people talk a lot about with Tatum is he's not as aggressive as people want him to be sometimes. And he was just going like right at Embiid in game 7. And so that's a huge moment for his career, and like probably just like a huge like thing for him mentally as a player. Like I just like put 51 on the fucking like MVP of the league.
Yeah.
And
In a
so
game 7,
I think
yeah.
I think yeah, got to be feeling pretty good.
Which game is better to you guys? His game 6 last year in Milwaukee or this game 7?
Dude, I think it's just game 7. And it's obviously I got a little bit of recency bias going, of course, because I mean that game 6 was huge, right? A year ago today, we actually won game 7 in Boston. The Grant Williams games, most people call it, when Grant Williams hit, I think it was 9 threes and had over 30 points.
Turned into Reggie Miller.
The Grant Williams that played 3 minutes tonight or last night. But yeah, dude, I just think this one, man, I think there's just like you said, there's a lot that led up to it, right? Like having one of the worst, like having such a bad start to game 6, closing out game 6 the way he did by scoring 16 points in the fourth quarter. And honestly, he scored 12 of those 16 in the last 4 minutes. And going into this game, just starting out he had 24 points at halftime and they were only up 3. And you just saw when he's playing aggressive like that, it opens it up. So personally, for me, it's Steph. I mean, it's game 7, man. I mean,
Sure.
I think there's a quote where it's like 7 as a number alone means nothing, but when you put game before it, it completely changes the meaning of the number, right? When it's game 7, it's a totally different atmosphere, and there's make or breaks, bro. Like especially with game 7s, like that's where like the elite players elevate. And the average, or not the average players, but let's say the elite players elevate and the A-tier players stay level or decrease. And we saw that and like you said, we'll get into Philly later, but we saw that with Joel Embiid and James Harden, where I just don't think they're necessarily like elite of the elite. They're more that A-tier rather. James Harden's not A-tier, but they're A-tier more than S-tier.
Ben, what about
McHugh.
you? Like, do you think?
Yeah.
Sorry, do you think that this game was better too, or what?
Yeah, dude. I mean, like the stakes and everything, like it's game 7, 50 piece. Like it's an all-time game, I think you would say probably.
Sure.
And also like last year against Milwaukee, like, Middleton wasn't in that game. So people like you could point to that maybe, I guess. But I don't know. I just thought Tatum, yeah, it might be recency bias, like Saw said, but I just thought this game was really impressive from Tatum. That's what you're wanting to see.
And when you look at last year too, like even without Middleton, it's like it may be bigger, but you're beating the defending champs. Defending champs are expected to win that game. But I think that also takes up maybe a little bit of the pressure off necessarily, where it's like, okay, well, if you lose to the Bucks in 6, yeah, you probably should have won that series, but you're losing to Giannis and the defending champs. This one, it's like if you lose to Philly, this is a team that we have consistently kicked the shit out of the last 6 years, right? We've eliminated them out of the playoffs 3 of the last 6 years, continually dominated Philadelphia. And for him to step up in a game 7 like this, I don't know, man. It's awesome. And I hate Philly. I mean, as most people know listening to this podcast, not a big Philadelphia guy. I'll be giving you a couple flowers to some players. But the other thing too, Tim, Finn, I was going to ask you about this. Al Horford's defense is crazy, dude. Like what he did to Joel Embiid in game 6 and 7 was just ridiculous. And I know I'm coming in Celtics heavy, of course, after a win like yesterday, but Al Horford's defense was awesome, man. It was awesome. It was crazy.
I think Horford played great. He blocked Embiid shots a bunch of times. I think he had like 4 blocks on Embiid in game 6, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was
had
crazy.
Another 3 in game 7.
Yeah, another 3 in game 7. And I just thought the Celtics, like the way that they played Embiid in game 7, like they would just like Embiid like he couldn't like answer the double teams. It seemed like they were just like sending a guy like behind him every time and like picking his pocket. And so I think like collectively they played really well, and Horford individually like also locked him down.
Yeah, and we've seen this from time to time, right? This was a big call out for Jokic. I'm just gonna ask you about this, Tim. We're kind of going back to Tatum a little bit, where it's you're attacking the big, right? That was a big thing with Nikola Jokic, was how well can you know Nikola Jokic defend on the switch on a pick and roll, right? Where it was Joel Embiid was never talked about, but he's high-class defender. Yet we've seen Game 7 time after time after time again, Jason Tatum single-handedly calls out Al Horford to set him a screen, so Joel Embiid's on him. Tatum scoring 24 of his 51 points on Joel Embiid. I mean, after relaying those stats, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid are no longer in the same conversation, right? And I think this is going to be my transition to talking Philly ball too. So if you want to get into Philadelphia a little bit, but we're not having those guys in the same conversation anymore, right?
Yeah, I feel like especially on here, I've came on and I've said some things about Jokic, which like I think at the time I still like sort of stand by.
Sure.
But like he's proving us all wrong. Anybody who had any doubts about Jokic. So then therefore, when it comes to like the Embiid and Jokic debate, yeah, I mean, yes, one guy is looking significantly better over longer periods of time, and one guy's never gotten out of the second round. Like, drops off heavily. Like, I mean, I mean, what are we doing? Embiid is clear. I don't want to go too harsh on Embiid. He's clear cut the second best big in the game, but like, there's also a clear cut best big in the game right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, and with Philly now transitioning onto them, and we'll talk conference finals previews here in a little bit, but talking Philly a little bit. McHugh calls me up on Friday, and we're talking, and it was Thursday. It was Thursday because we had to wait Friday, Saturday for the Celtics game. Calls me up Thursday, and we're talking on the phone, and he says, if the Celtics lose tonight, is it a disaster? Okay. And that was really interesting to me personally, because I was just like, I haven't necessarily thought about it that way. I didn't think like, oh man, is this a disaster for the Boston Celtics if we essentially lose this game? To me, it wasn't. I still felt like since Jaylen Brown got that All-NBA second team, we're going to keep the young core. Jaylen Brown's only 26, Jason Tatum's 25. I just didn't view it as, like McHugh said, a disaster, which take it one way or another. Philadelphia loses this Game 7. I texted him and I said, this is what a disaster is, right? Not only do you lose Game 6 at home, but the opposing team's best player is 1 for 14 until 4 minutes left in that game, right? Then you go to the Garden. All you're doing before the game is bitching about the rest from Game 6. That to me was crazy. I could not believe that. They're coming out, Woj has this weird ass tweet where he's like 17 missed calls for Philly, 4 missed calls for Boston. Doc Rivers coming out saying, oh, we won that, or analytically we won that game by 20, but I guess we lost. Doc Rivers coming out again and saying, oh, look at Scott Foster's reffing the game. We're screwed. Like, this is just weird vibes, man. Like, you had 2 full days to rest from this. So, McHugh, talk to me a little bit about what's going on. I mean, not even what's going on with Philly, but like, obviously I would assume Doc Rivers at this point is probably out, but where does Philly go from here, man? I mean, we're talking trust the process, right? But you haven't even made a conference finals.
So like, as far as where Philly goes, it's just like, who's on the chopping block, right? That's one of the talking points I have. Like, so it seems like overall there was like, Embiid after Game 7, he's saying like, James and I can only do so much. Like, we all have to play better together, not really taking accountability. That's not a good look at all from Embiid. And then you hit it on this too. Like, they were talking about like the calls from Game 6 before the game, like Doc Rivers in the press conference. And so they're just like, it seems like they're not focused on like how they are how they should be trying to win games. Like they're just like focusing on how they're like getting screwed out of like every game or whatever.
Yep.
And so it's just, yeah, it's a lack of accountability. You got to have some big changes. And so I think Doc Rivers probably gone, I think. And then the interesting one is James Harden, because James Harden, like there was rumors that he wanted to go to Houston in the offseason potentially. And then like I saw something today that he might want to go to Phoenix in the he might want to go to Phoenix. So that would be interesting because obviously Philly's GM is Daryl Morey. And so then like if you're going to get rid of Harden, then that's like Daryl Morey's guy, obviously. So are they like a package deal? If you get rid of Harden, do you keep Morey? And so I think like it's probably like you blow it up either way. It's just like you have to keep Embiid, right? So I
just think it's crazy how close the NBA is, right? Like what if they find a way, like what if Tatum doesn't get hot in that second half of the fourth quarter in game 6, right? And then we're having like totally different conversations about, wow, they like snuck out a win by any means, and now they're in the Eastern Finals, and like they're like, about to hopefully do it this year kind of thing. And it's just like, it's crazy how quickly the script flips. And like rightfully so, I think Philly deserves a lot of criticism. That loss in game 6 might be the worst loss this year, right?
Yeah,
like
in the playoffs, absolutely.
It just like in general this year, because of the stakes, like that might be the worst loss of this season. And it's tough to say it's not Milwaukee. It's tough to say it's not Phoenix, but like I think that one takes the cake. And like,
yeah, just like you said, with the stakes on top of it, everything leading up, like Jason Tatum having his worst game, you possibly actually getting over that hump, beating Boston, getting to the conference finals,
exercising everyone's demons, right?
100%.
Harden's demons, Embiid's demons, the Philly franchises. You're finally, like you said, beating Boston, like everything about it. And then you just like, you fucking crumble. You fucking crumble that hard. And it's like, there was like a lot of stuff to it too, man. Like you said, Finn, like I think Doc's got to go. Like Embiid didn't get a touch. I saw a thing. I don't think he had a touch in the last 3 or 4 minutes of that game 6.
Of game
like
6,
he didn't even get a touch. Like your MVP of the league. Granted, I do think
that's on the player though, bro.
I was gonna say, I think some of that's on him. I'm not saying that's only Doc, but I do think
absolutely is on him. This was the other issue I had with Jaylen Brown when it came down to some of the end of the games in games 4 and game 5, where he's like, I got to go get touches. At the end of the game, you have to, if you want the ball, and you're a player of that level, right? Not like, we got to get, Tobias Harris calling for the ball. It's your MVP player needs to go and get the ball, whether it's calling for it, clapping for it, cussing someone out because they're not giving him the ball. That is something that absolutely needs to happen. That's just, it's my opinion on that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
continue though, Tim,
I don't think you're wrong. No, you're fine. Like, and then you followed up. Wasn't he 5 for 18? Wasn't that his numbers or something like that?
Correct.
In game 7, and it's like, I've been an Embiid defender for a really long time, and it's pretty hard at this point to keep hanging on to like keeping him in the tier that everyone's had him in. And like I said, I don't want to go like too harshly the other way because of how close, like, a couple bounces go a certain way and we're having totally different conversations, but just like moving forward, I think Philly just probably builds around Maxey, right? Like
okay.
He's 22.
Yeah, no, okay. So I think there's a couple things I want to go into real quick on just what you guys have talked about. First thing, the Embiid comments about people needing to quote unquote step up. The quote is taken a little out of reference, but here's what matters is he doesn't take accountability for losing, right? Yep. That is a really, really big thing, because if we want to, and the thing is, all the stats go against what he's saying. I mean, we can talk about the game 7 alone where Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris outscored him in that game. But even if we go back and look at the player stats, right? So if we look at Boston's top 4 players, average points per game. Obviously, Tatum 30 a game, Jaylen Brown with 22. The next 2 guys are 16 and 15. The next two guys for Philly are 19 and 13. So, and even if we go deeper, it's not that much significant of a drop off. So by him coming out and saying, oh, it can't just be me and James playing when you and James combined for 24 points and Jaylen Brown scored 25 points in that game 7. I think it's just a little ridiculous coming out and saying that,
They
right?
combined
The
for
other
24.
that's what I'm saying, bro. The other
You
thing
and
too
James
is
combined for dick, dude. Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Nothing. They literally combined for 8 for like 32 or something like that. Something or 8 for 29, right? That's the start to ridiculousness, right? Then you're gonna quote Giannis where it's, oh, I think some famous player said there's no failures in a loss. Bro, Giannis said that after he had 38 and 20 in a fucking elimination game. And you're going to come out minus
Giannis has a
28
ring too.
and go 15 and 8. Yeah, I mean, we can go into more of that too. Giannis closing out a game 6 on his home floor, bringing his team a championship. Who hadn't won a championship in 50 years. Historically stamped NBA history, is probably one of the top 25 players ever. We can go into that. But we can just fucking compare the two games. The game you were referencing and the game you commented on, where you come out and you score fucking 15 points and pull down 8 rebounds. Dude, you got out-rebounded by goddamn Jason Tatum, bro. You got out-rebounded by Jason fucking Tatum. And you're going to come out here and say, oh, well, I'm gonna quote one of the best players at our position, a player who's significantly better than I am. Joel Embiid, you're a joke. I'm not a huge fan of you personally. I think at your peaks, you're an unbelievably elite basketball player. You won an absolutely meaningless award. The MVP has turned into an absolutely meaningless award. People are coming out there and saying, oh, I think that Nikola Jokic should have won. It doesn't fucking matter. In the long term, legacy-wise, MVPs do not fucking matter. When you were talking about the all-time greatest players ever, no one's like, oh, well, LeBron, or, oh, well, Steph's got 2 MVPs and Kobe only has 1. No one cares about it. It's an irrelevant award. All that matters is your playoff success, which you have absolutely none of, Joel Embiid. 0, zilch. Nada. So I'm glad you got your sympathy MVP. You're bitching on Twitter about, oh, I'm the league MVP. I'm the league MVP. Well, guess what you just showed? You're absolutely not worth it. Only did you get outscored by 2 players on your same team, but you got outscored by 4 Boston Celtics last night. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different Boston Celtics last night, dude. So pack your bags, go home, go to Costa Rica, go watch Boston win a fucking championship this year and enjoy it. That's my rant on Joel.
That was a really high quality sauce rant.
I'm sorry. That's my rant, bro. I'm so tired of it. I'm so sick and tired of Joel Embiid, dude.
That was amazing.
I'm sorry. I had to go off. I'm so sick and tired of that guy.
And honestly, you kind of won me over. Like I said, I've been an Embiid defender for a long time, and like this is some clown shit, bro. Like
100%, bro. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
With like a smile. He's trolling in the press game conference with a smile on his face about the Giannis shit.
Like, do you understand? You just lost back-to-back fucking games, bro.
When Giannis clearly was like distraught
100%.
when he lost. And like you said, he put up fucking 38 and 20. Say what you want about the free throws. Like, cool, he missed free throws. He probably should have made them. That's great. But like, he had 38 and 20. Like, Embiid, bruh. Like you said, you had 8 boards. You had 8 boards.
8 boards. 8 boards.
You had 8 boards.
You were out on the floor for 38 fucking minutes, and you are the biggest player on the floor. Minimum.
What are you doing out there, man? What are you doing, buddy?
I'm like, this was like a Jimmy Hamstrings possible legacy game, and he had 9 points. Like, this is some clown shit, bro. I haven't even like really let it sink in until right now, dude. Like they deserve the criticism that they're getting, and I hate to say it because I've always like, there's like those teams in the league that you're like an honorary, like you just like happen to find yourself rooting for these teams.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of been Philly for me. And like, no, I'm out.
They were a combined minus 58.
That was an all-time disaster class. A combined minus 58. Holy shit.
All combined minus 58. So
holy shit.
Shout out to those guys. Okay. And I'm not a big Tobias Harris guy. I know Tobias Harris's shooting numbers were not great. I thought Tobias Harris had an absolutely phenomenal series for what he was asked to do. And I think that guy is an absolute elite 4 on a championship team. An elite 4. If he is your 4th best player and your 1, 2, and 3 are really solid, he is an unbelievable 4. Because I mean, bro, like you gotta understand, like this guy's getting paid a bag. He's a good scorer, right? Is
Yeah,
he a
he can
good
get it.
scorer
He's a
on
bucket.
championship? He's a bucket. He's a bucket, right? But what's he asked to on this team? You need to sit from the corner. You need to watch. You need to hit your catch and shoot threes and play hella defense. He played great on the defensive end, personally, for me. I want to give all my flowers to Tobias Harris. I've never been a huge fan. I'm sure if you listen to the podcast, you know I'm not a big Tobias Harris guy. I thought he played great this series. He did only shoot 25% from 3, so there is that. But Tyrese Maxey, I don't understand. When you have two, being a Philly fan's got to be so frustrating. I'm sorry we're now on probably minute 10 of the Philadelphia rant, but being a Philly fan's got to be like the most frustrating thing ever, because you have a guy like James Harden, who to me is like unbearable to watch. I cannot stand watching the guy, even when he was in Houston. Tyrese Maxey is so fun to watch. I know McHugh's kind of been a Maxey guy for a while now. But kind of talk to me a little bit about Tyrese Maxey, dude. He is exciting to watch, man.
He's a bucket. Yeah, I love Tyrese Maxey. I think like if you're Philly, there's one guy you're for sure keeping on your roster next year. It's Tyrese Maxey.
yeah.
Like, because you never know. Like Embiid could he could ask out, like if things got crazy or whatever. But like everybody else is on the fucking chopping block except for Maxey, man. Like the way that like he plays with like really great pace, I guess. And I think if his shooting comes along a little bit, like he's for sure like future all-star player, I think. And so I think like you probably ideally want to build around Maxey and Embiid going forward. And you talked about like Harris had a really good series. And so I've been saying like I am also like a certified Tobias Harris hater. Sell high on the guy right now. I think like he just had a pretty decent series, like you're saying. I think like you gotta get rid of him. You gotta get rid of Harden and build around Maxey and Embiid moving forward. That's your path to a championship, I think.
Okay. So you bring that up. Okay. Get rid of Embiid, which personally, there's, in my opinion, absolutely no way Philadelphia trades Joel Embiid unless he asks out. The dude just won an MVP.
Worst case scenario. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I'm just saying there's no way Philly trades Joel unless Joel asks out of Philly. That's just my opinion. How could you? The guy, I know I just went on a giant hate rant on Joel Embiid, but in the end, the dude is still 30 a game, 10 rebounds when he's healthy, when he's playing at his best ball. I understand that. Hasn't shown us it in the playoffs last ever. But he's still an elite basketball player, right? If you were to trade Joel Embiid, and I don't know, and I know I'm just kind of asking you this on the spot, McHugh, or even Tim, whoever wants to answer, what are you looking to get back from that? And not only what are you like, in a sense, when I say what are you looking like specifically, not like, oh, I want some young players and some picks. Like, are there certain teams out there that you think have the assets to make this trade, and not only have the assets to make this trade, but a destination Joel Embiid would want to go?
What a question.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right. I know it's in detail. Okay. I have one for me. I'm just going to throw it out there so you guys can kind of think, because I know it's kind of just a spurt of the one question. I think the Knicks is not a terrible option. Okay. We've already seen what Jalen Brunson can do in the playoffs, right? I mean, he carried this Knicks team to 6 games against Miami. Without Jalen Brunson, this is a clean sweep, right? Jalen Brunson is that guy, right? So you give up a couple pieces. I don't think you have to give up Julius Randle in this trade, personally. I don't. I think you can give up. Obviously, you're having to give up RJ Barrett. That's going to be a huge one. You're having to give up Emmanuel Quickly, probably Quentin Grimes, and then you're having to give up 4 or 5 first-round picks, right? However many first-round picks you got to do to make this happen, right? So then you're having the base core of Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and Joel Embiid. Obviously, 3 elite players, Julius Randle being your 3rd best player. He's not on a supermax, neither is Jalen Brunson. So cap space, you might have to trade. Obviously, you're going to have to get rid of like the Evan Fourniers and some of those other players. I could see that being a destination for Joel Embiid going. The Knicks are hella desperate and just getting someone there that's going to draw major attention. If you have those 3, if you can figure out a trade, obviously you're not giving up Brunson. If you can figure out a trade to get Joel without giving up Julius Randle, you got 3 elite players to build around. So like that's kind of like my example of a spot where I could see Joel Embiid going.
I think personally a good fit would be the Thunder. I think
I
if you
love
can
that. I love that so
trade
much.
Chet, you've got 713.5 picks that you can
Yeah.
trade. You just like I mean, yeah, the picks are like loose change to you right now. You max out the picks, do as many as you
Yeah.
can, and then
Lou
you give them
Dort.
like Chet and Dort, and probably the like bad Jalen Williams. And well,
Yeah.
I don't know if would that be enough?
Yes, dude, that would be enough.
You think?
Chet was just the number 2 overall pick 2 years
Right,
ago.
right. He's a huge asset.
You would have to, I mean, like that, you would have to see Chet play a full. There's no way they're doing that trade without seeing Chet play like an actual NBA game.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You know,
So like,
I
if
think,
let's say Embiid by the deadline wanted out, and Chet's having like a good year next year or some shit, like,
Are you
that's
taking that
possible.
over RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quigley, and Quentin Grimes in a couple firsts?
Dude, it's fucking. He's an MVP. There's no way. You said you think Julius Randle doesn't have. I think there's no way Julius Randle is not a part of this trade, right? Because he's an MVP. Like,
But
I
the thing
just
is
think
though, like you think it would have to, because if I'm the Sixers, I would rather have Quickly and Quentin Grimes over Julius Randle, personally, if I'm Philly, because I'm not looking to win now. I'm not. If you're trading Joel Embiid, you're not making that trade being like, I want to win now, right? You're just starting over the process, which would suck so much for Philadelphia, because the last 10 years have pretty much just been, let's just, trust the process, right? I just don't know, dude. Like, this would be far bigger than the Kevin Durant trade, right? Joel Embiid's obviously 5 years younger. Katie's what, 34, right?
29. Yeah.
Yeah. So 5 years younger. I mean, McHugh, okay, do you have any?
Yeah. How about this one for you, Sauce? How about like, because I think Embiid wants to be in a big city, right? How about so like LA, Miami? How about Embiid to Miami for like Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero? Like, I don't know. That would be probably, because you're saying you think the Knicks could get Embiid like without Randall. I think you have to give up a guy like as good as Bam Adebayo at least.
Yeah.
You pair up Jimmy Butler and Embiid again. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I guess they did have like some problems when Butler was in Philly the first time. But
it wasn't him and Joel. Him and Joel were not the problem.
Yeah, they were
mostly with
friends. They were
Simmons.
tight.
Yeah. It was mostly
Holy
with Ben Simmons.
shit.
So
that would be tight. That's a good shout, Finn. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Miami would be like, look out for that one. And then you have like so many, you have like a lot of assets you can give up too. So I think Miami would be the move for Embiid if he is looking to get out of Philly.
Well, could you imagine?
though?
Could you imagine too? Like, Philly's like, okay, if we're really restarting, like, let's do it. Let's offload this Tobias Harris contract.
Yeah.
So you take on then Bam, Hero, and let's say Duncan Robinson. And I bet that money works if I had to guess, because Tyler Hero's on big bag. Bam's got a bag. Duncan Robinson's on like 16 or 15 a year.
Well, Max, those guys aren't, because Bam's on a super max, but Hero's not on a super max. Maxey's not. The money will work.
I would say the money would work. So if you're Miami, you're like, okay, we're getting not only Embiid, but we'd get like a super solid starter in Tobias Harris too for more offense. Like, I think
obviously Miami's having to trade like every pick they could. Like, in all these scenarios, you're trading max picks. You're trading
every pick you can get.
Yeah, I'm about to say, every trade scenario we're talking about, like, we also included in the players, it is the maximum amount of picks that you can give someone. Dude, Philly though would be kind of sick. Like, Tyrese Maxey, Tyler Hero, Bam, and being able to like kind of build some sort of like makeshift offense with them.
This is how the teams that always do these big trades are always like kind of sick the next year.
They're kind
because
of sneaky,
it's like,
bro.
They're like they're always fun and like high energy and like, well, like bunch of misfit guys, like
at the most a second round out.
Sure, yeah, they're never like serious, but they're always hella fun.
But Jimmy Butler's not going anywhere. Like, there's no way Miami lets
After
that
he
guy
has
go.
this run, yeah, good
Yeah,
God.
no shit.
Before
no
this run,
shot.
I thought he was
Yeah.
pretty much gone.
Me too. Oh, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, we talked about
Yeah.
we talked about the pre NBA playoffs of all the trades we thought, and Jimmy Butler was included in most of them. And now it's like, who's Miami going and getting? The other one I was thinking of was Sharp, Anthony Simons, and a couple firsts from Portland. I know, Tim, you also, I'm not going to take credit for this. This is one Tim brought up to me today, but that was another one that caught my eye too, was just like, which I still just don't feel like that's enough for Joel Embiid, dude. Like you said,
Kevin Durant just went for fucking Cam Johnson, Miles Bridges, and like 4 first-round picks. This is the Mikal Bridges. Sorry,
you're good.
This is the fucking MVP of the league we're talking about. Like, dude, there's just no way that gets done, man. I like Anthony, but you're gonna have to give up a lot more than that. You're gonna have to give up Shaden Sharp too, probably, right?
And even
he was in the deal. He was in the deal.
Yeah, you're going Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simons, and once again maxing out first round picks. So, but even then, bro, like, because here's how this trade scenario would go down is Joel Embiid's requesting a trade. But even if Joel Embiid requested a trade, I don't think that puts Philly at a disadvantage. The guy's still got 3 years left on his contract. As we've seen previously, Daryl Morey is a very, very patient GM, right? He obviously waited out Bill Simmons, shout out. He obviously waited out Ben Simmons, got a steal in return. I mean, let's be honest. He traded a guy that didn't play at all for James Harden, who almost won them this series. I know he had a bad game 7, but had 2 games where he completely won them 2 games. So this guy's going to get $1.25 or $1.50 on the dollar for this for Joel Embiid. Yeah, damn, dude. I don't even know if there's a package out there. I really, that Miami one is the most appealing, just because Bam's only 24, maybe 25 years old. Another spot I was thinking was the Kings, but I just don't know if Joel Embiid probably doesn't want to go to Sacramento. And B, I just don't know if the Kings have enough assets to give up. I mean, you're probably having to give up, obviously, Sabonis, Murray. You're probably having to give up. I just don't think they have enough assets to give up.
I think the most realistic one really is DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul. Swap straight across.
The one first round pick you guys got left?
And 2 second rounders. So I think that'll happen. So
yeah. I got one more.
Okay.
Embiid for Zion.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, I had a feeling Miku was going to bring that up. Miku's a big.
I love.
What if we traded Zion?
What if we traded Zion out there, man?
I mean, we're obviously talking. See, that's the other thing, though, is like at that point, are we talking about maxing out picks? I don't know.
You have a guy with the upside like Zion. I feel like maybe like don't have to give up a ton of picks in a situation like that.
Yeah. And the biggest issue with Zion too is we've seen him play, and when we've seen him play, it's in that like should have been all NBA guy. For sure.
Yeah, they're kind of similar players, I guess. I mean, like obviously, like Embiid like is much more accomplished, and Zion has barely played, but like guys that miss a lot of games because of injuries and like big upside. So I think, fuck, dude.
I think they have the same amount of conference finals appearances.
Oof.
Whoops. That's tough.
Whoopsies. Okay. All right. Wow, boys. Okay. We should probably move on from Philadelphia. Love the trade talks. Okay, but we're not going to move on from Philadelphia because James Harden might land in one of our boys' own backyard. Tim, how are we feeling about James Harden coming to Philly?
Yeah, I've always been a Jimmy Hamstrings defender. I think he's a good guy. Good. Dude, I don't know. I mean, he would do better than fucking Chris Paul at this point. Like, yeah, he would be much better than Chris Paul. But I don't know. If I let the record show, I personally would like a real roster, therefore
Bingo.
like a complete team around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. But it seems like Ishbia wants to swing for the fences and go for like Kyrie or Harden. So if it were to be one of those two, I think it's a lose. I think it's both a win-win and a lose-lose
He says that.
because I think Kyrie's just going to ruin your franchise and play 7 games and then be like, yeah, Phoenix isn't for me. I don't like it here.
Yeah.
Trade me today. Or you're just going to like get Jimmy Hamstrings, who's going to have one good game out of a 20-game playoff run. And he's going to have 17 disaster classes. And
Yeah, he had 2 good games.
he had to, okay, he will have 2 good games in a playoff run. Like, I don't know. I think it's a win if either one of those guys are your third best player. But like, I also just, I don't know, man. I'm just not really about it. I would just like to put a full competent roster around them.
I'm all about the full competent roster too, personally.
Like, look at Boston.
Mainly,
Look at what you guys
yeah,
have around Jason Tatum and
100%.
Jaylen Brown.
That's what you want. That's what you want. Because here's the deal. James Harden goes down. You don't want to be in the same scenario that you were this year where Chris Paul goes down and you're like, oh, we don't have anything now, right?
You're like, well,
I
Devin
just-
Booker needs to play like
Yeah.
prime Michael Jordan for us to even
Yeah.
take 2 games.
This was the first postseason in a while that we've seen James Harden fully healthy. If you could guarantee James Harden's health, I love his fit in Phoenix. I have never been a James Harden defender, never been a big James Harden guy. I don't think there's a better fit for him in the league today than Philadelphia or than not Philly, what the fuck? Than Phoenix. I think it's a great fit for him. Just create offense, right? And I think that's what he's when in his best moments, that's what he's been the best at, right? Like, hey, guess what? We're not going to need the ball in your hands in the 4th quarter. We're going to need you to fill in these extra minutes where Devin Booker and Katie aren't at the floor at the same time. You're still going to be on the floor with one of them at all times. Obviously has a good relationship with with Kevin Durant. Him and Devin Booker would get along, I think, fine. Maybe not because Devin Booker's a gamer and James Harden like really isn't. But I think that's the best fit for him in the league today. I think an absolute devastating career decision would be for him to go to Houston. I also just don't see James Harden taking a pay cut, and I don't think it'd be like you said, Tim. And I guess we can kind of transition this now into our Suns talk. I don't think that's a good roster move for Phoenix. But let's before we move on to Suns Nuggets and we talk about, I guess before we just move on to the Suns in general. Anything else on Celtics Sixers we covered? We just talked about them for about a half hour, so maybe even almost an hour. So good. Okay,
I'm good.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Tim. So when we're talking about the Suns, Monty Williams just recently got let go. A little bit surprising, but a trend that we've seen been going on a lot. Kind of made a little bit of sense. New owner in there wanting to shake some stuff up. Obviously made the giant trade for Kevin Durant. You guys are a second round out, getting blown out on your home floor in an elimination game back-to-back years. Not the best look for the Phoenix Suns. Sorry, not trying to dog y'all. Devin Booker having a career playoff series and just a playoff run. I mean, I don't think it's got to be, and I'm not trying to dog you in any way. I'm just trying to be straight. Yeah, got to be a little demoralizing, like seeing Devin Booker play at this level and just like the team around him not producing, especially Kevin Durant.
Totally.
So just talk to me a little bit about the Suns, man. I mean, it's like you said, I think we've talked previously. Next year's probably the best year, but talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts with it. The Monty thing, I think it's the right time. I have loved Monty since the day he got here. I think he's as responsible as anyone not named Devin Booker for changing the culture around. I think he's been an amazing coach and has done wonders for the organization. But I think it was the right time, man. I think if we get Budenholzer, I'll say this right now. If we get Budenholzer as our coach, I am going to throw a fit. And I mean a fit. I will be pissed off, but that's besides the point. No, I think, yeah, it just sucked seeing Book play at that level. And then this is like what he got from his teammates. Again, particularly Kevin Durant. You look at his counting stats and you're like, oh, what are you talking about? Kevin Durant averaged, I think it was like 29 and like 8. Like it looked okay, but then if you watch the games, it was not.
No,
it wasn't
not.
there.
It was not KD.
No, and I think part of that is the 8 games they got to play in the regular season. I think part of that was Monty not making adjustments during the games. I think part of that was his point guard being campaign. I think there was a lot that goes into it, but all said and done, I think it's time to move on from DA. I think that's mutual. Like I think people are underestimating his value that he's going to get back in a trade. He's a 23 or 24-year-old former number 1 overall pick who averages 18 and 11 in a system that most people would say he's not being used correctly. And I think that most teams are going to look at how Mikal bounced out in Brooklyn and be like, oh, we can do that same thing with DA on our team. And I think people are going to talk themselves into. I mean, dude, like you said earlier, dude, Ben Simmons, who sat out, who had the all-time biggest crumble in the playoffs, and then decided to sit out games, got traded for James Harden.
I don't know.
Like,
all time is yeah. I mean,
all time's a word, but it was a high level fumble by Ben Simmons.
Very similar to what another 76ers player just did yesterday. Sorry, go ahead.
But I think a team's going to be like, no, we can do that with DeAndre Ayton. Like they're going to talk themselves into him, and I think he's going to get real value. So I do think the Suns are going to move on from him, and I also think they're going to move on from Chris Paul because his contract is guaranteed $15 million right now, and it becomes guaranteed $30 million, I think, on June 28th.
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yes. And so if they trade him before that, another team can get him for that $15 million and then just waive him, just buy him out. And
he's gone then. Yeah.
And so it's like you can move off of 60 million in cap if you're Phoenix pretty relatively easily. Like, again, I think that teams are going to talk themselves into those 2 guys for contract reasons with Paul or leadership reasons or whatever. And again, the same thing. So I think it's going to be a completely new system, a completely new roster, a completely new Phoenix Suns team next year. Like way more than I even thought a month ago. Like I thought a month ago we'd still look sort of the same, but like retooled. I think it's going to be completely new next year.
Oh yeah, I mean I think it has to be, right? I don't know, McHugh. What about you, man? I mean, Tim, there's a couple things I'm going to take away too after McHugh puts in what he has to say. But McHugh, I mean, what do you think Phoenix has to do from here?
Yeah, I like the idea of like trading DA. Like I think you probably want to I mean, you guys always talk about it. You want to get cheap at center, like you want to get cheap at running back, man. Like you want to get let Jacques Landale get some minutes and then trade DA for whatever you can. And then I think, campaign, like I feel like he's just like not really that guy. And he did have like a couple of really good games. He had 1 31-point game in the playoffs. And so
it's an elimination game.
Yeah, so you like to see that. I think like he was injured for a lot of the season though. I think maybe I don't know. I think if you could try to trade DA for like I remember the Pacers were like a team that was mentioned in like a lot of trade talks, like around the deadline. Like maybe you don't want to get like Miles Turner, but like they have like a lot of valuable assets. Like if you could get like Andrew Nemhard or like Jalen Smith or somebody like that back, like I don't know. I think that's kind of like because you are not really relying on Chris Paul as much at this point. Like, so I think you want like more playmaking because you don't want Booker to do all the playmaking. So you want somebody to take some of the load off of him.
I love the Pacers trade. I think Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, if you could lock that in for Buddy Hield or for Buddy Hield, Miles Turner for DA, I think that's a great fit for Phoenix. You're adding an elite 3-point shooter, a great interior player who's not too expensive. Jalen Smith, I think, is interesting. Obviously, he was already a Phoenix Sun. And man, there was a player that you guys picked him over.
No, don't.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'll never come on the pod again.
Tyrese Halliburton.
This is my last pod, you guys. It's been a good run.
It's okay. I pass on him too, Tim. It's fine.
Yeah, you did too.
Yeah. Who did you take over him?
Yeah,
Mickey?
I took DeJounte over Tyrese.
I don't hate that. I don't hate
Which,
that.
well, I
I'm
mean-
still coming back like that. I don't
Looking back at it
absolutely-
now, it's not terrible. Like
No,
it's not
DeJounte Murray
indefensible.
was. Yeah, no, it's defensible. It is defensible too. And DeJounte Murray is clamps, bro.
I
and he
like
plays-
DeJounte.
I love DeJounte. I adore DeJounte Murray, bro. I wanted him in Boston for so long. I love DeJounte Murray. But moving on from that, couple things I want to pull.
I'm sure
First
Tim
thing,
would
yeah.
love DeJounte in Phoenix, dude. Everybody would fucking love DeJounte Sauce. I would
Yeah.
love him in Sauces. I would love him in Boston about like
Every other
any
role player.
yeah.
Not even role players. Any in
good
general.
player.
That
man,
guy
yeah,
in
he's like,
Boston,
that
man.
guy.
Wow.
I'll tell you a couple of guys who would be good in Boston. Number one, Joel Embiid. Number two, LeBron James. It
Yeah,
just
him
wouldn't
playing some
work.
Missoula ball, man.
Yeah, he ain't playing Missoula. Couple things. Yeah, McHugh, I think I just think Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, if you could get just that for DA, I don't know how you feel about that, Tim. I don't know if you feel like that's not enough. I think those are two extremely good players. Buddy Hield's an elite shooter. If you can get anything back in return for Chris Paul, even a backup 3 or a decent 4, I think that would be pretty sweet. At this point, I think
Pritchard.
yeah. I don't want.
That was a joke. That was a joke. Sorry,
Both me and
No,
Sauce
you're-
are like, no.
No. Yeah, like no. But yeah, I mean, I like that. Kind of pulling away from you though, Tim. Like, I didn't think about the Mikal Bridges thing, where it's like if DA's in a different system, which I think we both agree it doesn't matter what system that guy's in. I think he could not be in a better system than he's in now, personally. But if he's in a better system, maybe he plays better. If that better system is him having no pressure, him getting to put up 20 shots a game, and like I said, no pressure, don't have to worry about winning, then sure, I guess it's a better system for him. But DeAndre Ayton's not a winning player. Obviously, at this point, I think it's been pretty clear, has had unbelievable opportunity to prove himself as a winning player, hasn't proved it. But yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing for Phoenix, man. Like, you got to rebuild this roster. I absolutely do not think going the Kyrie or James Harden route is a good option at all. I don't think it is, man. Like I said, I think it's a perfect fit for James Harden, but I don't think it's necessarily an unbelievable fit for Phoenix. I think it's all about you have your 2 superstar players. There is no super team anymore, right? If this was maybe the Golden State Warriors days, sure, you got to go get James Harden. But that's not how the league is designed anymore, man. It's all about having deep rosters. You're not trying to beat that elite super team. You're just trying to make it through 3 rounds, just to get yourself to the finals, right? So, yeah, I think that's the move, man. And I think you can go out and get a bunch of veteran players that are willing to play with this squad.
I think there's a lot of guys that are on the table to be able to get, right?
The free
Like,
agent class is just wild.
well, and like there's
Wow.
even, I think, some possibility for some sign and trade shit. Or like, I mean,
The
even
buyout
if
market.
the buyout market will be good. Like, even if I think it was Russillo today said, like, if Washington wants to move off of that Beal contract, like that could be interesting. But then again, we're kind of getting back into that 3rd star route.
I don't
which
like
would-
it, bro. I think
Yeah.
you got to distribute your money throughout everyone.
Right.
Man.
Right. I would take for sure. Like, give me fucking Ivica Zubats as a starting center, like that
Yeah.
kind of a center. Like,
See,
I
though,
don't need
I
DA.
think
like,
you could trade for that, but I think it's kind of something I've talked about before is the Raptors obviously hit crazy on it, trading for Kawhi. There's been players trading for expirings. We have a really solid list of players on expiring contracts. The Raptors are blowing it up. Pascal Siakam's on an expiring contract, man. I mean, could you honestly, like, I don't know how much better of an offer you're getting.
Yeah.
Than DeAndre Ayton and a 1st rounder. You know?
yeah, no, totally. No, I
Like,
get it.
who are the other teams that are going to be trading for him, right? Like, maybe Golden State. Are you taking like Kuminga and Moody and whoever?
It's kind of hard to find a fit for DA right now, but like, I think Portland's a good one. And like, I don't know what that package would look like. I don't know if I'm shooting too high by being like, okay, if you give us Simons because you guys are sick of the small guard shit that you've been doing with Dame the last 1 billion years, and you want to get younger at center and more athletic, you get DA. We'll take Simons. If we need to throw in a pick or like Landry Shamet or something, like a player that has shown that he can at least kind of play. Like, I don't know if I'm shooting too high there.
Okay.
But-
How about this? I know this is going to be crazy, and I don't know if this is going to be a straightforward, like, duh answer. I'm just going to ask. In a trade scenario where you're giving up DA in a first rounder, let's say, are you taking Dame or Simons?
Oh, I mean, Damian Lillard for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, not a question.
Okay.
I don't think Portland would ever do that.
See,
Portland
the only
would
reason
never
the
do
only
that.
reason I'm asking is just like contract stipulation.
Sure,
know,
because
where,
he's
like,
gonna
if you get
get
a player like
$7 billion. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, if you get Simons, you're still able to acquire those other positions. I'm not saying like in a
True.
1v1 trade scenario, who are you taking? Obviously, you're taking Dame. I'm asking
yeah, okay.
contract stipulations like, hey, you know what? We're getting Simons, but now we're dealing Chris Paul. We're getting another guy. We're signing another guy in
True.
free agency. Now we're 7 or 8 deep. Anthony Simons is now our third best scorer. A guy
Yeah.
who is at his peak in a really good couple of months stretch was almost 30 a game. Like,
And he's like, what,
when Dame wasn't
23 or
playing?
something like that, 22. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can, like
another
you
guy to
said,
pair with Book.
yeah, be able to sign some guys too.
Yeah.
Like,
I
yeah,
just
maybe.
want to clarify.
maybe
I'm
that would
not
be
saying
it.
I'm taking Simons over Damian Lillard straight across. I'm just saying, like, in a scenario where it's just all
Currently.
about fit.
If
Yeah,
you promised
yeah.
me, that Phoenix would hit on like 1 or 2 lower level guys, then I would take the Simons trade.
Yeah.
But if you were like, okay, you don't know the
Yeah.
future, you're not guaranteed shit. Who do you want going into this next year? Portland's willing to do either. I would take Dame.
Yeah, of course. And I don't, yeah. And of course, and that's why I was asking, like, of course, the trade scenarios vary. All right. We got to move on. Sorry,
Yeah.
Tim. I want to talk. We can talk a little bit more. I mean, we're going to have plenty
all
of time
good.
to talk
All
about
good.
Suns. McHugh.
Yeah, it's off
I
season,
know
baby.
me and you've kind of talked about these guys for a while, a team that I didn't want to see in the playoffs, or at least in the finals. Talk to me a little bit about the Golden State Warriors, man. I mean, it was a surprising loss. I don't think we were necessarily expecting the Lakers to win this series. So before we talk about LA and some of the conference final stuff, talk to me a little bit about the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, obviously, like, go out in game 6. You really, like, don't get what you want from Clay. Draymond doesn't really give you what you want either. Steph, like, he's like 11 for 28, I believe, in that game. And so I feel like if you're the Warriors, you have to be thinking, like, in these playoffs, like, we haven't really, like, gotten consistent performance from Poole or Kuminga. And so I think, like, potentially, I think there's like blow up potential in Golden State, honestly.
Absolutely.
And then especially like with what Woj tweeted today about like Bob Myers being on the way out, like, I think like what that potentially signals to me, and why I like wanted to mention, is like maybe Bob Myers, the GM, like, he just doesn't want to be the guy to like do it and like trade Clay or trade Draymond or do something like that to blow up the big three. But like, that might be why he wants to be on the way out and get somebody new in there. And then the new guy will have to like eat shit for like the first big move he makes when he trades one of those guys. So I think it's blow up time for Golden State.
Man, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's an unbelievably good point, McHugh. Not wanting to, I mean, he's obviously the guy that built this dynasty, right? Gosh, man. And I did see something where he's very torn on whether he wants to stay or not. And thinking about that now, I bet you that's the reason why. Because he knows what needs to happen, but he doesn't want to be the guy that does it. Because, I mean, he has an extremely close relationship with that core, obviously, right? 4 championships, sticking with Clay through all the injuries, it working out, them winning that 4th one last year. I mean, if he's gone and they get a new owner, then I just don't think a new owner is going to be afraid to mess shit up, right? Very similar to, Phoenix.
Honestly, Ishbia. That's why Monty's gone, is because Ishbia wants his guys in there.
100%.
So that's
100%.
what happens.
That's why Ishbia wants to make these big moves. That's why DA's gone and Chris Paul's gone. Like, I know we weren't a Sarver fan,
He's
but
GM. He's not owner. He's the GM.
Sorry,
But,
the
like-
GM. Either
But still,
way,
yeah,
though,
getting
like,
his regime in there.
James Jones doesn't really have a say over what the fuck they're doing. It says
I
Ishbia might as
disagree.
well. At this point, I think Ishbia now has a pretty good control over what he says goes. James Jones couldn't get this trade to happen for KD. New owner gets in there. New owner's like, okay, okay. Sorry, I'm not saying James Jones isn't. Okay, you know what I'm
I
saying.
get what you
though,
mean.
and
Yeah.
in a sense to where Myers out, you get a new owner. But McHugh, that's a really good point. I agree with you. Jordan Poole played horrible. I had this take mid-season this year. Go back and listen to the pod. We kind of talked about it. I didn't understand why the Warriors weren't blowing it up sooner. You only have a couple years left of one of the best basketball players of this generation left. Why are we waiting around on Kuminga? Why are we waiting around on Moody? Jordan Poole, I don't even know if the guy's tradable at this point. You can't play him in the playoffs. You're paying him $30 million. You're paying him $30 million a year. Pretty tough to trade someone like that. I just don't understand why we were waiting on him. We waited on Wiseman a little bit too long. And what did you get back for him? 5 first-round picks that you ended up trading for Gary Payton Jr., the former number 2 overall pick. Not Gary Payton Jr., but you got Gary Payton Jr. for the former number 2 overall pick, man. So Golden State's got to do something different. I think their GM at this point is out. And that's a good point, McHugh. I just don't think he wants to be the one that breaks up the dynasty. But that's why he's so torn, man. He knows it has to happen.
Well, and because that's been like Bob Myers' thing too, is like how that's what makes him different than other GMs and probably the best GM in the league is how tapped in and personal he is with all of his players. Like he has a totally different relationship with the guys on his team and their lives than like most GMs do of their rosters. Like it's like a totally different relationship there. And that's what happens when you win 4 titles, right? Like that's how you get there. That's the result of getting there. So yeah, of course it's like, yeah, I didn't even think about it like that, MC. That's a good point. But it's just like, I don't know, dude. Poole looks like when he's not hitting those shots, he literally is unplayable.
Well, the problem is he
Like,
just doesn't bring, and if we want to talk, I mean, I can talk about Jordan Poole. I'm not a big fan of him. He obviously played very well against us in the finals, but he doesn't bring anything else to an offense but scoring. He's not a very good playmaker.
Yeah.
And that's it. And when he's not scoring, he's irrelevant on the floor. He's a detriment on the basketball floor.
When he's not scoring. Yeah. When he's not putting the ball in the hoop, he doesn't do anything on defense. Matter of fact, he is a liability.
100%.
He doesn't, he's
he's a liability on the offensive end too. He's a liability on the floor in general. If he's not
a
scoring.
Shot chucker. Which again, like when they're going in, man, like you're looking at this guy like, fuck, like
they're leaving him.
special.
Game 6, they're leaving him, bro.
And I just don't even know what you do. Yeah, I agree. I know we talked about this a couple pods ago, like you just said, of like, it almost feels like the Warriors missed a chance on getting some of these guys when you have these assets and like, cool, they're good. And yeah, they have their flashes, but like, they're clearly this inconsistent. Like, I don't know, man. I don't even know what you do. Like, there's such a disconnect between the young and the old on that team that I think they're honestly going to try to ride it out with the old is my guess. I think they're going to retain Dre and Clay, and I think Clay's going to take a slight pay cut, and I think that they're going to ship Poole, and I think that they're going to try to ride it out with this old crew one more time.
And I just think it all comes down to whether Bob Myers is gone or not. Those guys aren't gone. I mean, not that they aren't gone, but like if Clay wants money, right? But this is his extension year, so he's gonna have the option to go for an extension. If he goes to the front office like, hey, I'm gonna want another bag, you can't give it to him. I don't care how loyal you are to the guy, you can't give it to him,
especially after these playoffs.
Yeah, right. You just and it's no hate on Clay. Like the dude's been through multiple injuries, right? So it's like, we're not expecting you to be the same player, but with you not being the same player, you're not going to get the same bag, right? So, but dude, I if Myers is gone, I just, like you said, McHugh, I think it is full on.
Myers is gone. If Myers is gone, Clay or Draymond is gone, or like if Myers is gone, then it's fucking blow up season. They're fucking like they're sending the nuclear missiles in, like it's fucking Hiroshi man there.
It's fucking.
He's not wrong though. He's not wrong.
No.
I don't think Draymond's gone. I think Draymond's got a high enough basketball IQ to know if I go anywhere else, doesn't make sense to me. It's gonna probably somewhat ruin my legacy. I've already got my bag that I've needed. My best fit is here. I'll take a pay cut and stay. Klay Thompson, on the other hand, I think he sees himself as an extremely valuable asset to another team. Views himself also as an extremely high-level player. And on top of all of that, I just think he's going to want it back. So if Meyer's gone, I think Clay's gone. And you go and build around Steph because you maybe got 1 or 2 years left of this guy. McHugh.
We could go on about this for so long, but I feel like the only way Draymond leaves, like if you think about it, he's really relevant because he's on like a championship winning team and he has like his podcast, obviously, and like he has notoriety because of all of that. And like the only way you're trading him is if you trade him to like another either contending team or another team like
100%.
the Lakers or something like that. So I feel like Draymond is probably safe, like you said, but I feel like Clay, Kuminga, Moody, like those guys for sure.
Gone.
Heads on the block.
100%. I like it. All right. Anything else? And like I said, a lot of these teams that we're going to cover, we're going to talk about a lot of free agency once that comes around. I assume anything else we're going to cover on the Warriors? Are we good on them?
Go ahead, Finn. What?
I was just gonna say you heard it here first. If the Warriors have a new GM next year, it's getting blown up. So just know that you heard it here first.
Just know it. Yeah, I think I'm good for now. I like you said, Sauce. I'm ready to like honestly, especially it helps that my team's eliminated now, but I'm ready to like dive into off-season talk. Like there's a lot that we can do a pod on each of these teams. Like literally. Oh yeah. Like we can spend an hour on each of these teams.
I'm so excited. I mean, I'm really gonna miss the NBA and off season. There's a lot of NFL, but I'm excited to dive into like that month and a half or 2 months where like we don't have NFL or NBA, like middle of June to pretty much September.
Just to hit talks.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's the world ain't ready for that, bro, because you think I had a rant about Joel Embiid? Fuck, bro. Y'all wait until we're all sitting here yelling at each other about why someone thinks KD's top 10 or Shaq's top 10 and Steph's not or something like that, right? I'm so excited. I'm just excited. And that's kind of something I think we're going to draw towards a lot during the off season, just because like, I think we'll have like a lot of like 15 to 20 minute segments in the off season, it's about like different trades and shit. I think a lot of it's going to be a lot of our drafts and pick'ems and that stuff. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. I want to get to the conference finals. I know we want to cover Knicks Heat. I really don't want to cover the Knicks.
I don't care. I just put them on there because
okay. So let's get conference finals previews. We're gonna start with Nuggets Lakers. Let's talk a little bit about the Lakers. LeBron 10-1 in conference finals. Pretty good stat he's got going there. Only loss was to in 2009 to the Orlando Magic. So Bron got a pretty good stat going there. Think he's meeting his match. The Lakers look really, really good. I hate them, obviously, as a Celtics fan, but the Lakers look really good, man. I don't really understand how they're at where they're at, though. They can't really shoot threes. Their offense doesn't really make a ton of sense, but they're here in the conference finals. So shout out to the Lakers. McHugh, want to start us off in the Lakers?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear like how you think the series is going to play out, Sauce. I think the Nuggets have like the best player in the world, and he's playing like as good as he's been playing like all season pretty much. And so I think like I would probably like favor the Nuggets in this series. I also like think if you look at some of the matchups, like I think like Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown on LeBron is going to be like an interesting matchup because Christian Brown held KD to like 40% shooting in that series against Phoenix, and Aaron Gordon is another big body you can throw on him. And then also like AD on Jokic is going to be interesting because like AD like can guard on the perimeter a little bit, but then like Jokic with the level he's playing at right now, like it's yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess we'll just give takes on the series, right? And with that, it'll come with how we feel about each team. Yeah, I have like the Nuggets in like 6 games at maybe 7. First of all, I just don't see the team. They just don't lose at home. Their home record is unbelievable. I know Tim got a taste of this, but they're unbelievable at home. They are an awesome team on their home floor. They don't lose. They play great basketball. Nikola Jokic is the best player remaining, and I don't know if it's necessarily close. What he's done in his playoffs has been unbelievable, right? And I know it's like, oh, like who has he played? Well, first of all, we had Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. And I know Rudy and Carl aren't great, but Rudy's still probably one of the best defending 5s in the league. Karl-Anthony Towns isn't necessarily a bad defender. Those are 2 like elite 7-footers that are in the NBA.
Yeah, they've both been third team All NBA.
Yeah. Playing against DeAndre Ayton, who's been known to play really solid defense on him. Dominated DeAndre Ayton. The issue with him was, he's going to be targeted on these pick and rolls. Didn't really seem to have an issue on the defensive side of the floor. They've seemed to figure that out. And what he creates for them offensively is unbelievable. He just seems like he does whatever he wants. McHugh has a very interesting point, and not interested necessarily on here, but AD versus Jokic, that's going to be the matchup, right? Which player plays better? Anthony Davis going to try to lock down Joel as much as he can. I just don't see it happening. Like I said, I like Denver in 6. I know LA's got a nice little squad this year. LeBron, what he's doing on year 20 is unbelievable. I mean, he played a phenomenal game 6. The way he commands the floor is great. They got a bunch of good role players. I did see someone come out and say that Gilbert Arenas came out and said, I know, out of the weirdest, some not weirdest players, but weird call out. But Gilbert Arenas said that this team was better than his Cavs team, not the 2018 team, but the ones with Kyrie. I didn't really see that. I think those Kyrie teams are pretty underrated. Like, I would take Kyrie over Anthony Davis. I'm taking Kevin Love over whoever your 3rd best player is. I'm taking J.R. Smith over whoever your 4th best player is. Whatever. Going back to that, I still really like this Lakers team for LeBron. Austin Reeves has just like stepped up in a way that I think anyone did. Lonnie Walker obviously had game 4, which was unbelievable. And he had that great game 6 too. So I think it's an interesting matchup, man. Like I said, Nuggets in 6, maybe in 7. I don't see them losing on their home floor, but NBA may be pushing for a Lakers Celtics NBA final. So see what happens. Tim, do you?
Yeah, I have a couple things I really want to talk about. One, just because you finished on it. I don't want to believe this, so I'm not committing to that I believe this, but it is pretty set up that
Conspiracy time.
Let's put our tinfoil hats on. LeBron has the producers that are like making his documentary, like the Last Dance producers, have been around these playoffs and I think this season, right?
Yep, correct.
The Lakers, he's obviously in like year 20. He broke Kareem's record this year. The Lakers have had widely like the most free throws in the league this year. Or like I think in the playoffs. And we have a chance for it to be Lakers Celtics.
Oh my gosh.
I think that if there's a time where we're gonna see some like actual real influence on how these games go, it's gonna be right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is literally set up to be a movie.
Though? Could you imagine the documentary? Like, do you know how good The Last Dance was because they won that finals, right?
Right.
You know, like they win the finals. It's like this really hard struck year. Scottie Pippen doesn't start. Going back to this Lakers year, they start off 1-10. Same with the Bulls season where it started off really rough. Then, obviously the Bulls didn't make any trades or anything like that, but the Lakers trade half their franchise. Braun sets the record. They're not even supposed to make the playoffs. They squeak into the play-in. They win their play-in game. They beat the defending champs, right? They in 6 games. They beat Golden State. And then, like you said, a potential Lakers Warriors, or excuse me, a potential Lakers Celtics finals, man. I mean,
Yeah.
could it be scripted any better?
Literally not. Literally not.
No.
And so that is then something to watch for. Moving on from that, I think that this is going to be a massive chess match. I'm positive I'm in the massive minority here, but I think if you're the Lakers, you don't want to put Anthony Davis on Jokic.
Sure.
I think the biggest the biggest strength of their defense, maybe even their whole team, is when Anthony Davis is healthy, locked in, engaged, and protecting the rim. And if
Yeah.
you have him on Jokic all the way out towards the 3-point line,
True.
you're leaving that rim wide open. This Nuggets offense, man, it's pretty reminiscent of those really, really good Warriors teams, where
yeah.
as soon as Jokic or whoever has the ball, I mean, they're moving, dude. They're flying around the court. They're creating so much space just off ball. Like Jokic is so skilled, and even Murray is like really skilled. Like they have enough
True.
to like do so much offensively that I think, especially not only at the rim but 3-point, but like when you're taking AD all the way out away from the rim, you're eliminating your biggest strength. And so I think I would almost start like Vanderbilt or LeBron or whoever on him, and try to get somebody else in there, because I think if you're the Lakers, I think you need to have AD at the rim. Like, I think that's like paramount to your success.
So you're saying AD is like, because obviously if you have one of those guys on Jokic, you're having to double him, right? So what you're assuming is when Jokic is back to the basket, is AD the one sliding over then, or are you bringing a different double team? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Because that's the thing though, like if you're putting one of those guys on Jokic, very similar to like how Boston guard Joel, right? Where it's just like, there were times where Al Horford was able, where the Celtics were able to lay off a double team, but about 85 to 90% of the times Boston's having to double team Embiid, where it was the same with Jokic, right? Even with Phoenix, like you just have to double team the guy or he's going to put 50 on your head.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I would just put AD on Gordon and have him as the weak side rim protector.
Interesting.
And I think, because I mean, if dude, you like Draymond always says, in the playoffs, you have to get beat by something. You cannot let something beat you. You have to tip your hat. If you get beat, you got to make something beat you. And if I'm the Lakers, I'm saying, Aaron Gordon, if you can shoot threes in a way that's going to beat us in a series, and if you can knock down shots enough to where you beat us in the Western Conference Finals, so be it, man. Like, good luck in the finals, but we're not going to let Jokic, like Draymond said, get scoring and passing. You have to eliminate something. And so, and not only for Jokic, but like they get a lot of easy points at the rim, man. They get a ton of cutting baskets.
Yeah, they do.
They get a fuck ton of cutting baskets, which then opens up their 3. So if you can
100%.
eliminate the cutting right away and just stay out on shooters, like I think that's the recipe for success against Denver. And so I think the Lakers, they just need, whether it's Vanderbilt or LeBron, they need a second guy who can at least be on, because I'm sure AD is going to be on Jokic sometimes. Like obviously he's not going to never play him.
Closing games, tight
Sure.
stretches.
So, but I just think you need another guy that's going to consistently play Jokic on ball and have AD at the rim. It's kind of a risk, but like you're not going to win. Like I think you have to take that risk.
Yeah, and like you said, it's gonna be a chess match, right? It's all about gonna be making adjustments. And I like the Lakers coach and LeBron a little bit more than I like Denver's coach personally. But LeBron is stage of his career, man. I mean, he's a basketball genius, man. He's an extremely smart basketball player. And I think he'll help Darvin Ham in making these adjustments compared to what Mike Malone's doing. McHugh, what's your predictions, Nuggets Lakers?
Yeah, I'll go Lakers in 7. I think Scott Foster is just going to be working his ass off this series, and the extender it's going to be
Scott
in there.
Foster reffing y'all. Scott
Making sure
Foster reffing y'all.
Making sure we get that Lakers Celtics matchup in the finals like we've all been craving for. I got Lakers in 7.
Tim.
I got Nuggets in, I think I'm going to say 6, because I don't want to say that I believe that they're going to win a game 7, but I think I'm going to say Nuggets in 6. That's my guess.
Yeah. That's what I have too. I have Nuggets in 6 games. I'm a notorious Lakers hater, obviously. But I'm not surprised if the Lakers win this series necessarily, I guess. I don't know. This whole Lakers experience has been super weird because if they make the finals, it will be extremely surprising to me. I didn't see this team staying healthy for 3 straight playoff series, personally. It has nothing to do with the talent they have. For me, at least, I think their surrounding talent is good. But for me, it was just like, I just didn't think they could sustain the health aspects of staying healthy. McHugh, Lakers in 7. I love the take. I got Nuggets in about 6 games, depending on what happens. Nikola Jokic, I just think is that guy, man. Good luck stopping him. And if they do, and I mean, I think this also series relies a lot on, I mean, we didn't talk about him a ton, but Jamal Murray too, man. Jamal Murray is an absolute playmaker, man. A game changer on both sides of the floor, especially on the offensive end. And if you can get him playing at elite basketball, that would be great. Okay, let's move on from Nuggets, Lakers, Celtics, Heat. Oh, also shout out to the 2020 bubble. Same conference finals matchups, baby. So shout out to that. Celtics, Heat, McHugh. Obviously I'm taking the Celtics. My opinion is going to be 5, maybe 6 games. ESPN gave the Heat a 3% chance at winning. I just doesn't 3%. Like, I think even as a Celtics fan, I know that's not what it is. Jimmy Butler and Spoelstra is going to give you at least 1 or 2 wins. So I don't know, McHugh, what do you think about this series, man? Celtics Heat.
No, I mean, like, this is going to be one of those series where it's like, if you told me it went like 4 or 5, it's like, yeah, I could totally see that. I could totally, like, if the Celtics play to like their max, but if they play like game 7 mode versus Philly for 4 games, then like, fuck yeah, it's Celtics in 4. But like, really, what I realistically think the series will be like is like the Celtics are going to like take a game off. They just went through a brutal 7-game series versus Philly. They're probably going to like be slacking for a game. I think it's probably Celtics in 6, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see a way Boston loses this series. I mean, I guess I do. There's a series where Boston completely melts down. Joe Mazzulla gets absolutely outclassed by Eric Spoelstra. It's about adjustments. He's throwing 60 different zones at us.
Tyler Hero comes back.
Tyler Hero.
Is that a chance?
Bill Simmons kept saying that, bro. There's no shot Tyler Hero comes back.
He
bro.
broke his wrist.
Yeah, no, there's no way. He's like, oh, you can pencil Tyler Hero, and I'm like, Bill, chill out. No way Tyler Hero's coming back.
Modern medicine, man. It's crazy.
I guess you never. Yeah. I guess you never know. But Jimmy Butler, has a couple 40 pieces. Spoelstra wins you 1 game. You find yourself in a game 7. Jason Tatum melts down and you win the series, right? I could see that possibly happening. So I'm not saying there's no chance, but Boston's talent is just far superior to them, especially with Tyler Hero out. I don't know where they're going to get their offense. Notoriously, we have always done really well against Bam Adebayo, especially the way that Al Horford just played defense. Rob Williams getting more minutes. Grant Williams can play some sort of defense on Bam too. So I like Boston in this series. Obviously, I just don't see a way they lose, man. I mean, we're just a better team. I mean, it's a very similar matchup as last year, but the Heat are just, they don't have the same players, dude. They don't have PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
I know they got Kevin Love, but like, how are they defending Jason Tatum? Jimmy Butler can only guard one guy, right? So he's not.
Yeah.
Who's guarding Jimmy Butler? Or not Jimmy Butler? Sorry, Jaylen Brown, right? I know Gabe Vincent, Matt Strus are good, but like, I don't know, man. I can't imagine Miami winning this series. I can't.
No, I can't see it either. And I think that's because, like you said, there's just not enough supporting Butler. Like,
yeah,
the talent level between these two teams is like not close. Like, the Heat are so overwhelmingly outmatched talent-wise. Like, from top to bottom on this roster. I'm not saying like Tatum versus Butler is Tatum and Brown versus Butler even. I'm talking like when you're starting to go 6, 7 deep on your roster.
bro. I mean, when your 4th best player is arguably Gabe Vincent compared to like a guy like Marcus Smart, like what?
Right. right? It's
What?
they're just so, I think, like I said, like overwhelmingly outmatched
Yeah.
that the only way I can see there's three, like if Spoelstra just outcoaches the fuck out of
That's what I
Missoula,
mean.
which
You get a
even then,
Spoelstra,
like
you get a
you would
Spoelstra
have,
game and 2 Jimmy Butler games is what you have to get.
and then you have to just sneak one out elsewhere,
Yeah.
like because
Well,
that's
then
three
it's a game
games.
7 and it's a toss up.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
right.
Like that's what you're
Yeah,
getting. You're
okay.
getting 2 Jimmy class, and that's just to get you to a game 7.
Which
You're gonna
even
need
to get a Jimmy, sorry.
no, go
Um,
ahead.
I was gonna say, but even to get a Jimmy masterclass, like he has to use so much more effort
100%.
defensively this series than he has all playoffs.
Yeah.
No knock to Jalen Brunson, no knock to everybody else on the Knicks, no knock to Drew and all the motherfuckers he was guarding on. But like he's gonna have to be on the perimeter guarding one of Tatum and Brown.
Well,
And
he's also gonna have a harder defensive matchup, like defending him.
that's
Like
what I'm
here,
saying.
Drew
Yeah.
Holiday, like, you're saying like, are
Oh
you talking
shit. No,
about?
okay, never mind.
I'm
I
talking about him
misunderstood.
getting guarded, bro. Like he's not having like I understand Drew Holiday is a great defender. I understand that. But Drew Holiday is not going to defend Jimmy Butler as well as what Boston can throw at him. Because Boston can throw so many different bodies at Jimmy Butler that other teams haven't too. So like you said, not only is he going to have to exert all this energy on the defensive end, right? Having to guard, I mean, Jimmy Butler's going for him to win this series, he's going to have to average about 45 minutes a game, and he's going to have to guard Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum at all times because those guys are never off the floor at the same time. And then on top of that, he's going to be getting guarded by Malcolm Brogdon at a rare spurt, but mostly Derek White, all NBA second team guy, Marcus Smart, just like I would absolutely hate being guarded by Marcus Smart, dude. Like just a defensive menace. Yeah, he's a deep boy. He's just a menace. And then Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who are just like 2 extremely long forwards.
And then you just like, even if he gets into the paint, you got Al Horford and Robert Williams, who are just like big behemoth. Like, I just think maybe Hero would make a difference and maybe push the needle for me to make it at least like, well, maybe I could talk myself into it.
I think he would.
But like, I just don't think there's enough there around him that there's no way, right? There's no way.
There's no
Unless
way.
Boston. So again, like we said, the Jimmy Masterclass, the Spoelstra thing, and the third thing is that if Boston just happens to do the Boston Celtic thing of this era and just melt the fuck down, which even like a melt the fuck down, like it's not like you guys, like you said, you're 4 out of 6 Eastern Conference Finals, went to the finals, like. But you would have to severely shoot yourself in the foot, I think, if you're Boston to
I just think that like what we're trying to describe happened through 6 games against Philadelphia. We still didn't lose that series.
Yeah.
Like everything that besides game 7, pretty much everything that went wrong, possibly could have gone wrong, went wrong. We lose game 1 without Joel Embiid, and we have a fourth quarter meltdown, and James Harden puts fucking 40 on our head. Game 2, whatever, we blow them out. I guarantee we blow Miami out at least twice. At least twice we blow out Miami. I'm pretty much clocking that in. We win game 3, which is a big win. We masterclass lose game 4 because we go into OT and leave James Harden open in the corner. We dissolve in game 5. We dissolve through 4.5 quarters or 3.5 quarters of game 6. And then obviously it's the game 7 by Tatum. But I just like, even when everything went wrong against Philly, and Philly's team is way fucking better than Miami. I know
so much better.
I mean, it's way better, dude. I mean, even their third best. Yeah. So I don't know, dude. I don't see a way Boston loses this series. If they do, I don't know. The other thing too is like, if they do, would it be a disaster? I still don't think it would. You're in the conference finals. It would suck, but like
it'd be a letdown.
It'd be a huge letdown. Are you kidding me? It'd be a huge letdown, but it's not a disaster. You're in the conference finals. I just don't see him losing. If it's Celtics Lakers, bro, I don't know. I won't be able to sleep for 2 weeks. If I have to watch LeBron James in the finals against Boston, and then he's in a fucking Lakers jersey, and watch those guys just get calls all day. Oh.
My official prediction, by the way, is season 5.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Celtics 5.
Cool. I have season 5 too. McHugh?
Yeah. I'll go Celtics in 6 because they're just gonna like leg off for 2 games. So that's my theory.
I like it. Okay. Well, we should probably wrap this one up, boys. It's getting a little bit late on this side of the country. But anything else we want to cover on the NBA playoffs, man? I know once the playoffs are over, I'm gonna have a separate pod that's gonna go over just all the big moments, and there's been a ton of them this playoffs, man. I think we've had a lot of just like really cool moments that we're gonna look back on and be like, this was a sick playoff run. McHugh and I will be coming at you tomorrow night, probably just a short 15-20 minute pod. Tim, you're obviously welcome to hop on if you'd like. It'll probably be maybe during the first half of the Lakers game. It'll be right after the NBA draft lottery, because that's something we just gotta cover. Right after it happens. So this will be released on a Tuesday, the day of the lottery, and then you'll hear our lottery talk on Wednesday. But yeah, tune in. Hey boys, thanks for hopping on. I know we went on a Celtics Sixers rant. If you guys are listening and you're wondering why this is your first time listening to one of our talking Celtics basketball, I'm a big Celtics fan. If you don't like it, fuck out of here then. But I mean, yeah, hey, thanks for hopping on, boys. It's been a good pod, and like you said, I think there's just a lot of things to look forward to with this upcoming NBA off season and finish of the season.
Appreciate you, Sauce. It was a lot of fun. Super quickly, if you guys had to pick one player right now, who's the Finals MVP this year?
I mean, Jason Tatum for me. I think Celtics are winning a finals, and it's got to be Jason Tatum. I think we got the best shot at winning it. I don't think there's another player on Boston it would be. I guess the only other player it could be, there's no way they just don't give it to LeBron, right? If the Lakers win a finals.
Yeah, it would have to be LeBron.
Yeah, I got LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron's your pick, Finn?
Yeah, I'm taking LeBron.
Crazy. I'm really struggling between two guys. And so just for variety's sake, I'll take Jokic.
I like it. If LeBron wins the finals MVP, you want to talk about fucking disaster, McHugh? That is a disaster. As the Celtics fans, if we lose to the finals against the Lakers and it's LeBron, that's world ending.
Wash LeBron, man.
That does
That's
suck.
a tough
one. That is. I don't know if I'd ever recover from that. I mean, like last year we lost the finals. It was heartbreaking, but it was like at least we lost to someone like that I respect in Steph Curry. Yeah. Not that I don't respect LeBron as a basketball player, but oh my gosh. Oof. All right. Well, McHugh, thanks for hopping on, man. It's always a pleasure, man. And your takes have been extra spicy recently, man. I can't complain.
I've been grinding, Sauce. I work extra hard for those spicy takes for you. So I appreciate that. And thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on with Tim and Sauce as always. Hopefully we can get McKinnon on again soon too. Yeah. I want to talk to him about some of the moves his teams have been making. So yeah, it's a pleasure, Sauce. Thank you.
Absolutely. Draft lottery is gonna be super exciting tomorrow night. McKinnon should be back next week off his 1 week suspension. Details will be revealed in the next podcast. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. This was just Saucin, as McKinnon would say. Like and subscribe.